on behalf of Mark Weiser's Test of Time Award, especially as we've worked with him for several years. Unfortunately, neither of us could come in person. Life is busy at Google, and somebody has to stay behind and answer those searches about MobiCom. I wish I could be there. I'm already missing you all lots. And I really wanted to hear Victor's "a man goes into a bar" joke one more time. I guess it won't happen. However, I was able to make a voiceover TOT presentation about Mark's paper. Enjoy, and all the best from me.
Welcome to the Test of Time session for the Computer of the 21st Century by Mark Weiser, published in Scientific American in September 1991. It's my great pleasure and honor to present on his behalf. I worked closely with Mark from early 1991 to 1999, when sadly Mark passed away due to illness. It was a wonderful time for innovation, and Mark revitalized the computer science laboratory at Xerox PARC with his vision of ubiquitous computing, which is the inspiration for this paper. Mark began this publication with the now widely cited introduction: "The most profound technologies are those that disappear. They weave themselves into the fabric of everyday life until they are indistinguishable from it." So what did he mean, and how did it relate to computer science? As you can tell, Mark was a bit of a philosopher. He would use the example of printed text to explain. When we see a sign, label, or page of a book, we are able to read the information it contains. It can be done at a glance, and done very easily. However, we rarely notice the underlying technology that is used for printing, the ink or the substrate, despite the complexity of the technology necessary to make it. In other words, the technology blends into the background. Computing in 1991, on the other hand, was rarely that way. In fact, early personal computing often made us feel more like the red-eyed cartoon character on the left of this slide. Early PCs certainly had this effect on me. Mark believed that frustrating computing experiences could be turned into calm experiences by embedding computation into familiar devices and coordinating them through wireless networks. For example, building computing into books and notepads, and augmenting our work and home environments to support the task at hand, rather than have us focus on the devices themselves. As a result, this type of computing would be highly customized for the task at hand, and if done well, blended to such a degree it was invisible for the user. It would be a new era of ubiquitous computing. When Mark gave talks about these ideas, he would use the conceptual chart shown here with sales of different types of computing against year, essentially showing 3 trends in computing. The first, the blue line, represents sales of mainframe computers, which by 1991 were already on the decline, and represented a style of computation with one computer supporting hundreds of people. The second, the pink line, shows sales of personal computers, which were growing fast, and he thought might peak in 10 years around 2001. Here the ratio has changed and typically has one computer for every person. And third, the new embedded ubiquitous computing trends in green, with a hockey stick growth and yet to be predicted peak. This would lead to hundreds of computers per person and be far larger than any previous trends. Given our experiences today with smartphones, smart appliances and smart homes, I think we would all agree we are well into the era of ubiquitous computing. As we all know, PCs continue to have strong growth, mainly driven by laptop sales, long after 2001 and into 2010 plus. However, by Q1 2014, the trends were becoming clear, with headline news of global PC shipments falling 10% of last year, unheard of in the industry, as highlighted by the article shown here. IDC last year produced the chart inserted at the bottom right, showing a clear peak around 2012. Mark may have underestimated the year, but the trend is very clear. PCs have peaked and the ubiquitous computing era is taking off. In 1991, Mark wanted to explore this vision in the computer science laboratory to try and understand what technologies needed to be invented and explore the research questions that needed to be addressed. As the lab didn't have unlimited resources, he started 3 projects to investigate this space. He chose physical size as a guiding factor for the trends and was inspired by the empirical units of measure, the inch, foot, and yard, mainly because they were created out of practical necessity. They represented 3 fundamentally different types of device and usage. An inch-scale device fits in a pocket and can be carried at all times, like a pocket knife or wallet. A foot-scale device is carryable or luggable, like a book, but you're unlikely to want to bring it with you everywhere. And yard-scale devices that are likely to be stationary pieces of furniture, like a whiteboard, set up as a fixed piece of infrastructure in your work environment. This was the birth of the Park Tab, an inch-scale computer that fits in a pocket, the Park Pad, a foot-scale device that could be an e-reader or a notebook, and Liveboard, a large pen-based writing surface and display. The real value of an environment that contains these devices is not necessarily in the devices themselves, but in their coordination to achieve a task. Just as the internet and web benefit from Metcalfe's law, stating that the value of a telecommunication network is proportional to the square of the number of connected users, or nodes, ubiquitous computing benefits from having all the devices networked and coordinated with each other. The missing link in 1991 was, of course, the wireless network. There was no Wi-Fi and no Bluetooth. And a large part of the research carried out at Park was related to developing short-range wireless LAN technology based on near-field communications, and working with Olivetti on an IR protocol to connect devices consuming minimal power. The Park ubiquitous computing projects and infrastructure allowed us to time travel many years into the future. It was a technical playground like no other at that time. Today, there are many indications that he got a lot of these trends right, supported by some of the most popular computing devices we have today: the smartphone, tablet computer, e-reader, and smart TV, all holding niches at the inch, foot, and yard scales of computing. The images of actual products on this slide clearly remind us of the experiments carried out at Park, which were an inspiration to many. Some of the projects also built on work done at Olivetti Research, namely the Active Badge. This was another inch-scale technology and could be worn like a badge and provided identity and location information for all the participants involved. And it allowed true context-aware computing applications to be developed, automatically creating actions and events depending on who, where, and what was present at the time. This will be covered in another TOT paper session later on. A key aspect of life at Park was the environment, with the goal of building what you use and use what you build. I have many great memories of how using the technology brought people together to share ideas, own designs, and discuss what kind of future we really wanted to create. To conclude, Mark's vision was well ahead of his time. There were clearly others in the field that shared some of his views and were advocates for them, but Mark's vision was the most coherent and comprehensive in its scope. I learned that in the years after publication in Siam, the paper became required reading among top executives in a number of tech companies, and turned out to contain a number of sound predictions of the future of the industry. It also put the concept of context awareness on the map in the US, and inspired many of us to push the limits of what could be done. I would like to finish, as Mark would have done, by saying thank you to the many researchers and engineers who contributed to this work, namely especially Bill Schelt, Doug Terry, Marvin Tyner, Mike Spreitzer, Bob Kravasik, Ed Richley, and David Goldberg, who was the inventor of Unistrokes, and the many others who pitched in to make this all work.